everybody, Roger here again. Today I'm just out in the yard working out in the raspberry patch and loganberry patch and huckleberry patch in our little orchard and cleaning up all the little twigs and whatnot from last year and debris. And we got this deer fence here to keep the deer out, made out of a seine web. And these are the old loganberries here. I'm weeding out and tying up. And over here is our huckleberry patch. I get quite a bit of our huckleberries out of our own yard from this patch. And then I'm going to be working in here, doing some weeding. So, let's get to it. So this stuff here, it's like chickweed. I'll be feeding it to the baby quail. And then we got lots of buttercup. And you have to pay attention when you're weeding in here because I also got some strawberries. And strawberries has similar leaves to buttercup. So I don't want to pull up any strawberries by accident. But buttercup's fairly easy to pull up. It gets a little harder when it's this big because the roots get stuck in the ground, and the roots are kind of like a big fan that fan out. Here's the one that's coming up. There's a good example. You can see buttercup root just fans out into the ground. So if you could get it early, that's great. My eyes are up here. Hello. Up. Here's another example of a typical weed we get up here. And it's morning glory, which likes to choke everything out. So you can see it's got these long white roots, and it's really hard to get all of it, but you just get what you can down by the root, and you just pull and drag it out of the ground because you don't want that crap in our garden. And the chickens are already in here getting at what I've been working on. And I just tied up these raspberries, hoping I can pick them more easy in the future when they ripen. There's the chicken zone there. So it doesn't look like much, but I mean, I've been working here for quite a bit and pulling up the weeds, as you can see in here. So bit by bit, it's getting a lot nicer and easy to work. So this is the old weed barrier that I laid down, and it's been doing its job, keeping most of the weeds at bay. And I'm just going to reuse it and take the dirt off the top. Take the dirt off the top and shove it on the raspberry plants like I'm doing right here. That's actually a loganberry, a volunteer loganberry that I got to tie up. But yeah, I'm going to reuse the weed barrier wherever I can. Alright, here we go. I was hoping to come across this so I could show you how easy it is to pick up a strawberry plant by mistake. If you're looking down here, the root of the strawberry plant looks like this. It's kind of a woody root. And then the leaves look like this. And then over here we have a buttercup. And then if you look down below, the base of a buttercup, this isn't a very good one to show, but base of the buttercup's like this. And you pull it up and the root again fans out. But if you hold up the buttercup close to a strawberry plant, you can see when you're weeding, it's pretty easy to pick the wrong plant by mistake. The good thing though about strawberries is you could transplant them to where you want them to go. So even if you do pluck some up, you could just go through your weed pile and take out the strawberry plants and put them somewhere else. So this is what it's looking so far. So I just want to show you here this leaf here of this plant. It's a columbine and it's a flower that we want to keep. But if I hold up a buttercup next to the columbine leaf, you could see how you could easily pull up these columbines by mistake. And this is what the flower looks like of the columbine. And the guineas are starting to wander through the loganberry patch. I'd rather see them going exploring in here than wandering the streets, so they tend to wander during the daytime. They know where home is, and this is the sound they make when they're exploring new territory. And here I have a volunteer red currant that's growing amongst the raspberry plants. I'm just going to leave it here. We used to have huge currant bushes when I was growing up as a kid, and it's unfortunate we don't have them anymore because I could make a red currant jelly. So I'm trying to save as many of these plants as I can. And just because it's a volunteer doesn't mean I need to get rid of it. Now the problem we had is years ago a neighbor brought in a gooseberry plant from down island, and it was infested with this caterpillar called a gooseberry sawfly, and it just devastates the red currants and the gooseberries every year, and it's very difficult to get rid of. And if I go up the plant, you'll see these tiny little caterpillars there. They actually get quite a lot bigger than that, but that is what is devastating these currant bushes. So in here I got to be careful because there's a mixture of columbines and the buttercup and strawberry plants. So I'm just going in here and taking a look at the roots before I pull. I'm getting rid of the buttercup as much as I can. And I try to pull it up by the roots, and it makes it so it doesn't has to get itself established every year and it just won't take over so bad. So this part of a huckleberry plant here was leaning quite heavily into the raspberries, and I didn't want that. But I also don't want to cause too much stress on the plant, so I have to loosen up my knot here so it could still grow and fan out, just not where I don't want it to grow. As you can see here, it wants to fan out quite a ways out into the raspberries, so I want to pick it up and have it up here, but I don't want it to lose its fan. So I don't want a very strong knot bundling it all together in one bunch like I had there. So let's see what I could come up with. There, I'm liking that a lot better. It still has its fan and it's pulled out of the way. Now the raspberries are starting to form their own paths here, so that's looking good. Now I gotta tackle this mess in here. This is what it looks like when I'm standing here in the raspberry patch. As you can see, most of them are over my head. Just take a step this way so you can see. And as the season goes on, you'll be watching me harvest these. Now I'm seeing this patch of huckleberry here growing into the raspberries, so I'm thinking I'm gonna lift this up into the bushes here too. Looks like there was a whole whack of dead shoots in that huckleberry there, and I pulled that out and it looks a lot better. So there's not going to be a lot to tie up, and these plants in here will get more light. More light means more berries. Now, obviously, this is something I want to avoid. This is a new shoot of a raspberry plant, and this would be a new plant that would bear fruit next year. So you don't want to knock too many of them over. Try not to knock any over. You can see there's another one here. And that's going to be a new plant next year. Unfortunately, it happens, especially when you're weeding close to the roots, like I am here, to get these buttercups out of here. And buttercup is an indicator that it's a wet soil, or not very well drained soil, but the plants love to thrive in this damp area here. There is another strawberry plant, and I want to point out, if you ever see this wicked plant, I don't know what it's called, but its roots, it grows this vine. As you can see, its vine's way over here, and it will choke everything out. So you want to make sure you get all the roots and all of this plant. It's got this variegated leaf, and you want to get rid of that. That's the root there, and it grows this long vine and just attaches itself everywhere, and it will choke out everything and just take over your yard. So you want to get rid of that, but it's going to come back year after year, and you just have to keep plucking it out because you can't get it all. And that variegated leaf plant, what I got to do with it is I got to burn it, because you don't want these roots to grow, so you don't want to throw this in your compost. So you put it in a separate pile to burn. And then I look over, and here I see I accidentally plucked out a strawberry plant, and it's still got roots on it, so I'll just find a place for it, dig it a spot, and plant it. There's a good spot here in between the raspberries that I've already weeded, so I know it's safe, so I'll just tuck that strawberry plant right there. I'm just showing you the morning glory root. It just goes everywhere, and you just got to pull it up as best you can and just get as much of it as you can. You're not going to be able to get it all again. It will come back year after year, but you just got to pull up as much as you can, because if you don't, here we go, that's a good one. See, I got a whole vine of that variegated leaf plant, and it just stretches out all over the place, and you want to burn that. You don't want that taking over this plant here, because it will just take over. So when you're weeding out the berry bushes, you kind of have to get down on your knees and get in there in between the plants and move them around in positions that you actually want them to grow and clip some of the branches that you think are going to get in your way. And I also got to get rid of the salmon berries, so I go and get rid of them down at the roots because I don't want them to take over in the huckleberry patch. There's enough wild salmon berries out there in the wilderness for me to harvest, so I don't mind killing off the ones that are growing in the garden because they're actually a weed. So here is what the salmon berry looks like down at the base of the root. And I'm just going to clip it down by the roots, and that'll prevent it from taking over this season. And then next season I'll have to do it again. Easy to get distracted and start on another project when you're working in the raspberry patch, when there's all these weeds and little things to do out here. So I almost forgot about tying this up. That's what I'm going to do next. And there we go. Tied up. It's a lot easier to access the huckleberries now. And the raspberries are turning into nice little rows here. But there is still a lot more work for me to do. And this is the burn pile in the middle of the yard. And it's approaching mid-May here, so pretty soon we're going to have the fire bans. And once the fire ban's on, it's on for most of the season. So trying to work as quickly as I can so I can have a fire. You can see the hens love digging little holes around the ashes and the burn pile. You can see that dark guinea in the middle there. That is my very special guinea, and she is a royal purple. And if you could see, she's got a little bit of a purplish tinge to her feathers. But she's a very special guinea because I only have one, so I'm hoping I could catch some of her eggs where she's laying and collect them and put them in the incubator, and hopefully I'll get some more purple guineas, royal purple. The other ones are pearls. And over here, this white one is a lavender. And they call it a lavender because there's a little bit of a lavender color to their chests. And the raspberries are starting to look pretty good. I could get in here and pick berries now. It's a lot easier. There's no weeds for them to compete with. And the rows are starting to form in here. You can see there's a row. But I still have to get in this area here. It's getting late in the day, so I might have to move this to another day, but we'll see. There's still daylight hours. So you can see in here at the roots, these vines of the loganberries coming up, and they're kind of stretching out and weaving their way into the raspberry plants where I don't want them. So I got to carefully remove them and make them shorter and weave them in a position that I want them to grow. Or it's going to be a jungle in here that I can't pick. Now I don't know what the ruckus is, but as you can hear here, when the roosters and the hens and the guineas all get going at the same time, it gets quite loud. And I'm not sure what they're squawking about, but it started with a hen. And now the guineas are at it too, so who knows? I actually like the sound. And here's a good example of just how viney a loganberry could get. You can see this vine is going all the way up into that that plum tree there. And even though it's going to bear fruit and be really good picking this year, I have to snip it off somewhere down here because I don't want it growing off not far into the distance. So I snipped it off where the flowers are already forming so I don't interfere with too many of the berry growth. And I'll just get rid of this vine. Just trying to show you here that I gently weaved these loganberries together here. Try not to damage them as much as I can, and then I'm just going to tuck it into the main plant here. Alright, so this is what the raspberry patch is starting to look like. You can see definitive rows here now. So I could get in there and pick. I got some weed barrier to stop the weeds from taking over. And there's going to be lots of light getting in at the huckleberries now too. So the raspberry patch is now done. As far as I'm going to go, I'll probably have to put some fertilizer on there, on the plants. But I got to finish the weeding. And I got to tackle all this. This is the loganberries beside our sauna. That's our old sauna there. And as you can see, the loganberries are kind of all wild in here. So I got to take care of that, but that'll probably be another day. And then I got to take care of this butterfly bush that is fallen over and it's taking over where the loganberries need to grow. And all of this in here is loganberries too. But I gotta get in here and get rid of the old dead twigs from last season and weave the plants so that I could get in here and pick easily. And I have to also weed out any blackberry that's taking over in here. So that'll be tomorrow. Alright, well, I hope you enjoyed this little video as I'm weeding out my garden, getting it ready for berry picking season so I can make jams and jellies. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe and follow along, and you'll see me picking berries, harvesting throughout the season here, and see what I get up to here on Malcolm Island. So that's all I have to say for today, and yeah, ciao.